In this video, we're going to look at immunisation. We're going to talk about natural immunity, artificial immunity, passive immunity, and active immunity, as well as how we do vaccinations in Australia and how this herd immunity affects those people who aren't vaccinated and the problems with viruses. So firstly, natural immunity. Natural immunity occurs because once you have had a disease, the leukocytes recognize this antigen that causes the disease, and they can produce the correct antibodies to fight the disease. So this is why once you've had disease, it's harder to catch that disease again. So for example, chickenpox, you generally only catch once in your lifetime. And if a flu goes around and you get the flu, pass it on to someone else, you generally don't get the flu back because your body's already worked out how to fight it, and it has that natural immunity if it comes across that disease again. Artificial immunity is when we stimulate the immune system so it's able to fight the antigen without having had the disease in the first place. Now this is really important, especially for diseases that are fatal or very serious, to stop people from actually getting these diseases in the first place because the symptoms are just so bad. And this artificial immunity can be effective against bacteria and viruses, more so against bacteria, but we'll talk about why viruses are hard later on. Firstly, passive immunity. Passive immunity is when you are inoculated with antibodies that fight the antigen. So rather than your body making the antibodies, you get the antibodies from another person or sometimes even another animal, inject that into the body, and those antibodies will kill the pathogen. This can give quick immunity, but wears off quickly because those antibodies only survive in the blood for a short period of time. Active immunity, on the other hand, is when a person's vaccinated or inoculated with a dead or attenuated, so a weakened version, or a related form of the disease. And what this does is it actually stimulates the immune response, so the full immune response happens to fight this vaccination. However, the vaccination doesn't actually cause the full disease. So this is why after getting a vaccination you might get a little bit sick, but will stop you from getting properly sick later on in the future. Now, an example of a disease that we use a related form is smallpox. And smallpox was actually the first disease that a vaccination was developed for, and it was developed from a related disease, the cowpox, that is much less severe. So what they did is they got the cowpox and gave it to purposely gave it to people, and by having the cowpox, it meant they were immune from the smallpox. Some active immunity can wear off over time. So in these cases, you need to get a booster shot. So for example, tetanus, once you are vaccinated for this, you need to get booster shots every 10 years or so to make sure that you continue that immunity. In Australia, we have a free vaccination system that's very effective, and within minutes of being born, a baby will have its first vaccination injection, and these continue in a schedule and usually finish in about age 12, except for the boosters for a few things that need to go on throughout the whole life. And by having this vaccination system in Australia and by making it free, it means that there's a lot of serious diseases that rarely occur in Australia, and diseases that do occur other places in the world where they don't have such a good vaccination system. And there's some diseases around the world that have actually been wiped off the face of the planet. So we no longer have that disease because of vaccinating enough people for it. Now, the thing about vaccination is it costs a bit of money. So the government spends that, but it means that we don't have to spend that money later on when those people actually get sick. So in this case, the prevention is better than the cure. Now, some people aren't able to have that vaccination. They may be allergic to it, or they may have other medical reasons that they can't take that vaccination. Now, these people rely on the herd immunity of the population. So this means that if enough people around them are vaccinated, it means that those people aren't going to catch the disease and then pass it on to this person. Now, there's a critical point for herd immunity in which it works, and unvaccinated people can get by without getting diseases. But if not enough people within the community are vaccinated, this herd mentality falls down, and all those people unvaccinated can catch the disease, and it can spread through a community. So it's important to make sure that as many people as can have the vaccination do have the vaccination, so that we don't get to that critical point. Now, the problem with viruses is that they mutate very quickly. So, for example, the flu virus mutates very quickly, which means that you can catch many different types of the flu. So each time you get the flu, you're actually getting a different strain of the flu. So what that means is that a new vaccination needs to be made for each one of these strains. So if you're getting a flu vaccination, they bring out a new one of those just before flu season every year. And that updates the immunity within your body so that you're then immune to the current strain, the new strain of the virus. In this video, we've looked at natural immunity and artificial immunity caused by vaccinations. We've looked at the passive immunity, where you're injected with antibodies or you get antibodies, and active immunity, where your body fights a weakened version of the disease. We've looked at the vaccination system in Australia and how we rely on herd mentality for those people who are unable to be vaccinated. And we've talked about the problems of viruses mutating very quickly.